Films are the meaning of life. But how is it the meaning of life? I mean, it's just a film. You know what I mean? Like, how can a film be the meaning of life? I mean, there's thousands of films. Which film is the meaning of life? Before we get to that, let's start from the beginning. The year is 1887. If it wasn't for the thundering of each racehorse, you'd be able to hear the heart beating out of each millionaire who placed a bet on him. While everyone wondered if they're going to be going home multiple times richer, there was one man whose mind was completely elsewhere. Leland Stanford, philanthropist and former governor of California. He had somehow noticed that briefly, all four of the horse's hooves would leave the ground simultaneously while galloping. Now pause. Keep in mind, back in the day, there was absolutely no way anybody could prove this. Firstly, he could try out the wet plate collodion method, to where he would have to coat a glass plate with a light-sensitive solution, then exposing it in the camera, then developing it quickly before the plate had dried. The problem with this, however, is that it required a long exposure, making it impossible to capture anything fast moving, unless maybe the horse would be able to levitate, which horses usually don't seem to do. Usually.
I guess you're not feeling me, not feeling the energy.
I mean, they could have just used a camera. Cameras did exist back at that time. The problem with this, though, is that cameras didn't have the shuttering tool, meaning they weren't able to capture the right thing at the right time. Stanford realized this would be way more challenging than he thought. With his bets already made with his friends, this was money that he could not leave on the table. Stanford needed to prove his theory correct. But how? Or better yet, who? You see, one of Stanford's many empires was a railroad empire. So one of the first names that came to mind naturally was an already established photographer by the name of Edward Muybridge. Stanford then approached Muybridge, proposed to him his challenge, and the two went off from there. Muybridge would go set up a track at Palo Alto Stock Farm, which would later become where Stanford University was built, and carefully prepared a clear path for Stanford's prized gal, Staley Gardner, to dash across. Muybridge then used a series of 12 cameras lined up along the track. Each camera positioned at a specific moment in the horse's movement. The cameras were connected to a tripwire, which would trigger the shutter of a corresponding camera, taking the right pictures at the right time. What was captured is now known as the horse in motion, and that person that you actually see on Staley is not Stanford. It's actually a jockey who's in the area by the name of G. Dom, an African American who actually did get a nod in the movie Nope.
Now I know you guys know Edward Muybridge, the grandfather of motion pictures, who took the pictures that created that clip, but does anybody know the name of the black jockey that rode the horse?
No.
A film by Jordan Peele, who I'll go into more depth about in a future video. The results? Stanford won his bet. And as for Muybridge, he became the grandfather of motion pictures and also inadvertently solving the meaning of life. How does this all tie into movies being the answer to the meaning of life? Let me explain. Well, actually, before that, I'm going to present to you a small piece of an unreleased song by Kendrick Lamar. Look, I promise it'll all make sense by the end of this video. I promise. The song I'm referring to is called Prayer. You may have not heard it before because obviously it's unreleased, but I promise by the end of this video you will not forget this song. The song begins personifying Michael Jackson's song ABC and personifies it by saying how its father's legacy also tarnished its own legacy in a way. The second verse of the song is through the perspective of Martin Luther King's I Have a Dream speech and elaborates on even though how much of a staple Martin Luther King Jr. is to American culture today, he was still just a human and like a human, he made mistakes. Now, as beautiful as this song is, these first two verses are not why I'm making this video or why I bring up the song in the first place. It's the last verse. The reason I'm making this video, what ties everything in, and my whole point. In his final verse, Kendrick raps as himself, talking about how critics break down the work of an artist, trying to judge what is essentially the soul of an artist. Critics take what someone uses as an expression of themselves and tries to make it seem like if it's a math equation and can be deemed as right or wrong. Now, I had a friend in elementary school whose father had left him, and I remember asking him how he dealt with it, and I've always remembered what he told me. He told me that he took out a piece of paper and drew fists on it, fists, and then he would cross it out, just in a fit of anger, cross out all of the fists, just to express how he felt about that, just to really express his anger. Now imagine if somebody picked up the paper and tried to judge those drawings and tried to tell him how good those drawings were and tried to tell the meaning of the drawing to him. That wouldn't make much sense, would it? The point I'm getting at here, and what Kendrick is also expressing, is that in a world of certainty, what makes life life is art. Art is a metaphor of the soul. Whether you believe in God, souls, or just flat out atheist, it's undeniable that each person is unique and deserves some sort of medium to express that. Kendrick even elaborates by delivering a verse I'll remember on my deathbed. To think of a life without the lights of imagination is prospering. The bodies you consider genius, you try to box them in. The great debaters and thinkers, they gave you a voice. Why can't you prosecute the crimes and not the thoughts I employ? Because your better judgment will always look down on me. But if I recollect how we connect, you'll account on me. I got a theory that most of y'all won't allow to see. It goes like this: talent doesn't choose morality. See, if Daniel Hale was a killer, would you not want a heart? If Carl Benz was a racist, would you stop driving cars? I can't help we jump into these bodies and you call them a god. Just know the earth is a rock without the voices of art. That final line, it's lived with me. It's the moment I've heard it, because it's true. Without the voices of art, we're just no different from AI, which I'll talk about in a future video. Now I'm going to explain how this all ties back into movies. See, we've already established that the world is dull and boring without art. What are the mediums of art? Music, fashion, writing, cinematography. I hope you see where I'm getting at with this. Movies itself aren't the meaning of life. I mean, they're just movies. But when you really break it down and think about every calculated decision put into a 2-hour film only for people to walk out and say, what was the main character's name again? Now yes, a lot of the movies coming out today are corporate garbage, let's be honest. I'm gonna get into that in the next video and explain why that is. But don't let that distract you from all the brilliant pieces of art coming out today. Movies like Across the Spider-Verse, Dune 2, all demonstrate what it means to be a genuine film. And yes, I know every film has to be profitable in order for there to be more films coming out, but there's a major difference in making a film to make money versus making a film that makes money. I highly encourage you, now that streaming makes it more accessible, to watch more niche films that cater to you. Stop falling for corporate garbage and putting FOMO on you for not seeing their latest sequel of a remake of a sequel. The audience, we must reward creative filmmakers. The ones who don't care about ratings or money, the ones who just make a genuine piece of art. Genuine filmmakers may just want to express a deep part of themselves. Whatever you do in life, whether it be a blue-collar worker or still in school, you're gonna have somebody telling you what to do, when to do it, and how to do it for a majority of your whole life. Now, I'm not gonna sit here and complain about having obligations, but the incentive that the point of life is just to work is just downright depressing. Being a human is about expressing who you are and living your life, not anybody else's. Screenwriters, actors, directors, all you can name, all they're doing is just giving you a voice. As ironic as this is, sometimes a piece of fiction could really show you who you really are. People may walk out of theater feeling like their favorite hero when the truth is, the hero's been them the whole time. All great movies are just metaphors of different people and ideas. So in that case, it's unfair to critique something that was never for you. That makes about as much sense as me going to my neighbor's house and stealing a package and saying, hey, I didn't need this. Hopefully this video made you more aware of the beauty behind film, a medium where multiple artists could put their blood, sweat, and tears into a single project and hand it out to you in a fine dish. Film is not just a form of art, it's a kaleidoscope of artistic expression. It encapsulates the essence of life itself by weaving together a myriad of types of art, visual storytelling, music, acting, cinematography, and more. In this way, film becomes a profound metaphor for life itself, showing us that the answer to understanding life's complexity often lies in embracing its diversity, just as films embrace the richness of various forms of art. I want to thank every single person from the bottom of my heart for watching this video. If you could just leave a like, that would mean the world to me. And if you have a passion for films just as strong as me, I'd really appreciate a subscribe or anything. If you don't want to, that's fine. That's fine. But check out my next video. I promise you by my next video I'm gonna earn it. I promise. But yeah, this is my first one. Hope y'all enjoy. Thank y'all so much for watching. And hopefully I catch you on the next one.